The Smiths chose not to get vaccinated. Others have changed their mind after seeing firsthand what the virus can do. Brad Underwood has the story of one of those men, but it was too late. Brad joins us from Fort Thomas. Brad.
Well, good evening, Paula. 68-year-old Stephen Brown woke up almost 2 weeks ago and knew something wasn't right. The next day, he passed away here at St. E's after testing positive for COVID-19. But this story is as much about COVID and the vaccine as it is about true love. At 4 in the morning on August 28th, Stephen Brown calls his daughter from St. Elizabeth Hospital in Fort Thomas.
I did not think this was going to be the last time I ever saw my dad alive.
But it was the final time Brown and his daughter Molly would speak. 2 days prior to that video call, Brown was set to get his first vaccine shot. The rising Delta variant helped make the decision. But that morning, Brown didn't feel well.
My dad wakes up. He doesn't have any taste or smell senses. He's coughing. And he said to me, well, you know what, Molly, I might as well. I think I'm going to reschedule. I don't want to get anyone else sick.
After hours of no contact, Brown's son went to his dad's apartment to check on him.
The breathing difficulties are just getting way, way worse. And my brother finally called for paramedics to come out there.
At St. E's, it got worse, fast.
Knowing that they're together again. And that's all that he ever wanted was Mom.
Molly says her parents, Helen and Steve, were made for each other. They did everything together. And in her father's final moments, Molly believes they were together again.
I knew my mom was like right there, and that the greatest love story ever was going to get another chapter.
Helen died in 1993. Steve never remarried and, in fact, wore his wedding ring until his last breath. This year, the Browns would have celebrated 43 years of marriage. Soon, the two will rest next to each other at St. Stephen's Cemetery as Brown bought 2 plots back in '93. As for the vaccine, Molly has a message to those on the fence. Get the shot.
And you don't want to give your kids the last image of you alive is on a ventilator fighting for your life.
Now, funeral services have not been finalized at this point. The plot is paid for, but Molly says the family still needs several $1,000s to make sure that her father, in fact, does get buried next to her mother. If you would like to help, we do have a link at local12.com. Reporting live in Fort Thomas, Brad Underwood, Local 12 News. Paula.
So many families hurting. We thank them for telling their story. Thank you, Brad. A little more than half of Americans eligible are vaccinated.
Over the past few years, more than a dozen Ohio villages have been dissolved.
In 2019, residents in Amelia and Newtonsville both voted to dissolve. Those villages then became absorbed by 3 surrounding townships. Local lawmakers since decided more needed to be done to regulate the process of dissolving a village. But as Christian Hauser found out, after November, another local village could be no more.
The village of Owensville in Clermont County is the latest which could be dissolved. The folks behind the petition to do so say that there are several reasons behind it. But now there's also a bill that will be put to the legislature, which would lay out the process and potentially restrict how and when this could be attempted.
Nick Gilkison, who's part of the group pushing to dissolve the village, has lived in Clermont County his whole life, moving into the village about 5 years ago. He says it mostly comes down to taxes. The village is one of 5 in Clermont County with a 1% income tax.
On all residents, all employees who work within the vicinity, any business owners. So that tax is really our main reason for submitting the petition.
Gilkison says there are other concerns about some residents' comments not being recorded during council meetings, among other issues. If it happens in November, Owensville would be the 3rd village to dissolve in Clermont County. Representatives Adam Byrd and Gene Schmidt each have had a village dissolve in their district, Amelia and Newtonsville, respectively.
That experience for our community has been so traumatic that I felt like we needed to bring a bill that would bring more clarity to a higher revised code on how to dissolve a village.
Byrd and Schmidt handed out a preliminary 24-page proposal at a council meeting earlier this year. The bill lays out how municipalities would be dissolved and their debts and obligations be handled. Schmidt says they're still discussing limiting how often someone could petition to dissolve a village.
I kind of like the idea that you can't keep going back. There has to be a wait period until you can go back because it costs the village to fight this.
Back to Gilkison. He says he's still trying to get answers as to what would happen if Stone Lick Township were to absorb the village. But he says right now, no one seems to know.
I reached out to the village and Police Chief Mike Freeman got back to me, but he said he wasn't able to comment right now because the mayor and village council are working on the next step. He says a committee is being formed to investigate the possibility of being dissolved. In Owensville, Christian Hauser, Local 12 News.
The bill being crafted by Representative Byrd and Schmidt is expected to be introduced at some point by the end of the year. It would not have any effect on the current petition to dissolve the village of Owensville.
The local couple is basking in the adrenaline rush of rock and love. A Journey fanatic, you know, the group Journey, they got the experience of a lifetime. The woman was so excited when her boyfriend got down on one knee at the St. Cecilia Festival this weekend, and they told their rock and roll love story to Cassie Arsenault.
After 7 years, Jennifer Kirkpatrick didn't stop believing in her love for Bill Berkey. And last night, her waiting paid off.
This is Bill, and this is Jenny, and you're part of their journey.
She got the proposal of her lifetime, saying yes to the man she loves, next to the musician she adores, Steve Augeri, former lead singer of Journey.
Everything. It was totally perfect. Everything was perfect.
She's seen him well over 200, 300 times.
Jenny has seen Steve so many times that he makes it a point to talk to her after his shows. So calling her up on stage as his superfan was the perfect plan to not raise any suspicion a proposal would be happening seconds later.
Oh, Bill and Jenny, of course, we'll make it happen. He never said we'll think about it or we'll try or whatever. He said we'll do it.
Oh, I knew she was going to say yes. My biggest worry was whether or not she would come on stage.
We're surprised we got her on the stage. We kind of had to drag her out there.
But the plan ended up being foolproof, because if there's anyone who could force her to get over her fear, it's being called on stage by the rock singer. Jenny and the 12,000 people watching all held on to that feeling of true love as she turned around to see her man on one knee.
Well, I didn't get a yes, but I got a, are you serious? And then an I love you, so I'll take that as a yes.
We knew by her expression that she meant yes. You know, we could see yes in her eyes.
It was surreal. And even all last night I kept thinking, did this really happen?
You know we love a good love story, Cassie. Come on.
Well, to each their own, right? And they already asked Steve if he could do their wedding.
I was going to ask about this. Look, we are here. We are here.
And Steve said that he can't give them a yes or a no at this time. He's got to look at his tour schedule.
Wow. Money talks, okay?
Yeah, yeah, seriously. But they will be honoring his music in some capacity, whether he's there or not.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, you might say yes.
That's
very cool.
You never know.
All right, we do love
Stay on top
story.
of this story. If he's performing at the wedding, you and I are going, okay?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We're going to be there.
We're all going to go.